the Gemara told us one reason was the Psalm Mizmor LeDavid Havol Hashem B'nei Elim, and the next opinion. So that opinion was Reb Hillel Berei Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani. The next opinion is Reb Yosef. He says it corresponds to the 18 times it says Hashem's name in Kriyat Shema. Now, I didn't see any commentaries that discuss this, but it just seems to me it's interesting because when we talk about the Kriyat Shema connection, we mention that it's connected to both all the names of Hashem, Elokeichem, Elokim, Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, all the names of Hashem. So this opinion it's referring to the Shema, and it basically connects to the, for example, the first three is Hashem, Elokeinu, and Hashem Echad. So that's three. Then you have the next two is Hashem, V'ahavta is Hashem Elokecha. Hashem and Elokecha is the next two. Then you have Liyahavas Hashem Elokeichem. So we're not specifically using the name Yud Kei Vav Kei here. Here we're jumping to any name of Hashem in the Shema. So what it seems like is that the emphasis here is, I guess, the acceptance of the yoke of heaven and the yoke of the mitzvahs and the foundation of our faith. In other words, they connected it. In other words, the first opinion was it was more connected to mercifulness, asking God for mercy and compassion. This opinion, it seems that they're emphasizing the idea is the emphasis is on the theology and the acceptance of the main elements of our faith, and that's why they made it 18 in connection to the name of Hashem, but it doesn't specifically connect with the mercifulness and compassion. It's connecting to all the names of Hashem, and so it connects to the Shema, and then or another thought. Another thought that comes to mind is, well, no, I guess that's, we'll leave it at that. That's just a thought. I didn't see it anywhere, so I don't want to say it's the correct meaning, but it's just a thought of what the connection is, the Shema. Okay, and then the third opinion was that you need that Reb Tanchum. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says it connects to the 18 vertebrae in the spine, and that's also very interesting. What is that? How does that connect? Well, what are we trying to show with that? What is the emphasis here of the spine and the Shemona Esrei? So the Pnei Yeshua over here says an interesting. I would say it's like a Hasidic interpretation. He says that all the other limbs are connected to certain mitzvahs. They have the mitzvahs with each of the limbs. He says, but the spine, what mitzvah is the spine connected? I know your arm, you do tefillin. Your mouth, you say words of Torah, and your ears, you listen to Torah. You listen to all the mitzvahs. There are certain things that you can, the limbs that you fulfill mitzvahs with. But what about the spine? So the idea is that they established, corresponding to the spine, 18 brachas in order that you'll realize that all of our limbs are supposed to serve Hashem. Kol atzmoisai toimarno. All the limbs should say praise to Hashem, and therefore they established the 18 brachas that the spine, even the lowest of the limbs, should connect to Hashem with Kol Atzmaisai Tomarna. And as we'll see, you're also supposed to bend. When you bend, you're bending in connection to the elevating those, connecting those limbs with Hashem. So it's the Shemona Esrei is sort of bringing out this idea of connecting even the limbs that are, it seems so physical to Hashem. Yes, Robert.
I mean, For me, I mean, this is a very, really in some ways, a wonderful excerpt, because what it's saying is when we bend physically, we're implementing or whatever, engaging our spine to the total of our body relative to our relationship to Hashem, and our subordinating ourselves to God. So to me, that's a very important statement.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. Well said. And it actually connects to this week's parsha, because one of the things we learned in this week's parsha is that they would give the bikurim, the first fruits, and
Right.
it says the wealthy people would give the gold and silver, bring the gold and silver baskets to the Kohen with the first fruits, and they would give them back their gold and silver baskets. But the poor people would give wicker baskets, and that the Kohen would keep. That would stay by, the Kohen would keep it. And the idea is that the service, one of the concepts is that the gold and silver is like a proper way to serve Hashem. The lowest level, like the wicker, that's like so foreign. So even that, or specifically that, is the lowest level, needs to be connected to Hashem as well. And therefore, that would be part of the holiness of the bikurim. It would be connected to the elevating it as part of the first fruits. So even the here you have the idea of bringing the lowest level and elevating it to holiness, to a level of holiness. And so the same thing is what we're learning here is the connecting the level that doesn't seem to be a major part of the spiritual side of the body, and yet we're connecting it to Hashem. Yes, Robert.
Again, this to me talks about the democratization of Judaism, that there's no hierarchy. We are all equal, irrespective of our means, and being accepted and being part of this extended. And we did that, I remember, with the creation of the temple, when people gave what piece they could, and that it was accepted without any, being, first among equals. Everybody's the same. So to me, that's a wonderful statement as well.
Right. The Talmud makes a little joke about this. It says the poor people get poorer because when they give their wicker basket,
much more,
they actually don't get it back.
Exactly.
They don't get it back. The rich people, they get their basket back. But spiritually, what it means is really it's a great thing that that their gift is sort of like accepted, it's wanted, it's precious. It's precious to Hashem. Okay, so the Gemara continues, and it says that Tanchum. Actually, let's just start there. We're 6 lines up from the bottom of the page. Tanchum says we're 28b. 28b, 6 lines up from the bottom of the page. Tanchum says, in the name of Rabbi Shua ben Levi, I'm a spalo. The person who davens, he has to bow until all the vertebrae in his spine are like sticking out, until they're visible, the knots of them. And Ula Amarat Kadesh Yer Isser Connected Libai. Ula says that you should be able to see your an Isser opposite your heart, which means a certain coin. The size of that coin would be in between the 2 folds. You would have the size of that. In other words, your stomach is going to create folds. That's how far you should bow down. There is another explanation. Isser Keneged Libai. It means that you bow your head down and you see on the floor the coin. Then that you'll bow your head down close enough that you could see your head. You see a coin opposite your heart, meaning somewhere nearby on the floor. That's the another interpretation brought in the Rashba, such a explanation that it means that you should bow to that extent, which means that you bow more than, it's not just a little bow. It's more of a bow. At the same time, I should mention that it's brought in the Yerushalmi not to bow too much, because it looks like that you are showing off, and so therefore bowing too much is also not acceptable. In fact, it's brought in the Shulchan Aruch in chapter 113 about not bowing too much. That your mouth would be opposite your belt because you're bowing too much. So there is, there is a limit. Also, don't go overboard. We also know that you're not supposed to bow and your head is up, but your body is bowing, but your head is sticking up, because that's also not considered. That's not bowing. It says it's supposed to be agmoin. Agmoin is like a rod, or supposed to be down. Your head should be down. And okay, so the Gemara continues, and it says, Rabbi Chanina Amar, Rabbi Chanina said, Rabbi Chanina is more lenient. He says, you bend your head a little, it's good enough. And Amar Rava says that Rava makes a like a sort of like a intermediate view. He says, Amar Rava hudim nafshe umechzik man dekora. This is if it's painful for him, then it looks like that he's bowing. That's good enough. So in other words, if the person is maybe sick, or or he's older and it's hard for him to bend, so he makes it look like it's it's visible. He makes it look like he wants to bow. That's what he does. He bows a little, but people will see that he's older or he doesn't look so well. So that would be good enough. Okay, so then the Gemara says, Hani Tmani Sri, this 18, Chasrei Havyun, it's really 19, right? There's really 19 brachas of Shemana Esrei. So why do we keep saying there's 18? Amar Rabbi Levi says, Brachas HaTzedukim, the Yavne Tiknua. They establish in Yavne the blessing against the Tzedukim, against those that consider they only follow Torah Shebachsav, the written Torah. So who did they establish it? So Keneged Mi Tiknua, who did they establish it to? Why did they establish it? What did it correspond to? Which means that every part, and this is a continuation of what I mentioned earlier, that what does the Gemara mean? Who did they establish it corresponding to? What does that mean? Who did they establish it corresponding to? And what did the Gemara mean before? What do these blessings correspond to? What it means is that everything had a deeper meaning. The Shemona Esrei that we read, we think it's the rabbis just said, oh, there's about 18 things that people need. Okay, well, it's not true. It's not just because there are 18 things that we need, or 12 things that we need, therefore they made 12 middle blessings of the Shemona Esrei. There's specific, deeper meaning in Kabbalistic terms of what that there has to be something that these things correspond to. So Rabbi Levi, the Reb Hillel, Berei Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Keneged Kela Koved Hirim, that if you go back to the 18 brachas, what did they correspond to? This is going to add on one more point. So there's another time where it says in that psalm, it says Hashem's name and it says Kel. So because of that Kel, they said we can add on another bracha of Shemana Esrei, meaning they needed to add another bracha, but they needed to fit it with the meaning that it corresponded to, with the other 18 corresponded to. So he says it corresponds to the name of Hashem Kel in that Psalm 29. Rabbi Yosef Keneged Echad Shebekriya Shema. It says Echad, Hashem Echad. So the word Echad, they corresponded that was what it corresponded to. It corresponds to the small vertebrae of the shedra, small rib. And which rib is that? So I saw one of the commentaries mentions that's called the luz bone. The luz bone is the bone that never can be destroyed. Different opinions where that is. I don't know. I always was told it was somewhere by the neck. So I guess it's this bone would be somewhere in the upper part of the spine. But anyway, whatever it is, the luz bone is the bone that can't be crushed. It's what the Hashem is going to resurrect. the dead from that bone, and that bone is going to be that bone is the one that they corresponded it to. It's not a full bone; it's only a small one, and therefore it wasn't included in the others. And that was in Yavne they added it. Should we go another few minutes? Is anyone against another 5 minutes? Is that okay? Can we go another 5 minutes? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. I'm sorry to take up. I want to just turn the page. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis learned Shimon HaPekuli Histir Yudches Brochos of Rabban Gamliel. Yeah.
Rabbi,
yes.
I just want to say that there's some versions like the Steinsaltz. It doesn't say it's Sedukim. It says Minim, heretics.
Oh, really?
Minim.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't say Sedukim at all.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know which is the original.
Right. Well, the Gemara that's printed, the famous Vilna Shas says, Tzedukim, but that is interesting that it's that he switches it. There must be other sources. Okay.
What is the other term?
The minim, the min, which are like apikorsim, those that are against Torah and so on.
Heretics.
I mean, Tzedukim is also, you could translate, I guess. Well, maybe not. I don't know what literally the word heretic would mean. What does heretic actually mean? Someone who rebels against the.
I think it means denies God.
Denies God. The word heretic.
I think so.
Oh, I see. So in other words, Tzedukim, they sort of believe in Hashem, so you couldn't use that word to translate Tzedukim. Okay. All right.
It says a person believing or practicing religious heresy.
Right? I guess we got to translate heresy.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Look up heresy.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks.
But yeah, so if that's right, then I guess you're right. Tzedukim you can't translate it as heretics if that's correct, Yehuda.
I believe it's a non-believer.
Non-believer, right?
But heresy is belief of opinion contrary to orthodox religious doctrine.
Well, then you could say a Tzeduki falls within that category then, because they are going against Orthodox belief. They're just not going against Hashem fully. They're going against our understanding of Hashem. But in any event,
the Tzedukim could be just one subset, one subgroup, whereas the heretics are more of a broader group that includes other types of heretics besides Tzedukim.
Oh, for sure. I'm just wondering if it would be wrong to translate Tzeduki heretic.
Are they doubters? Is that a better definition? Is that
no,
they're
Rabbi,
not heretics, but they're doubters? They're questioners.
There's another definition, which is opinion profoundly at odds with what is generally accepted.
Well, that would also be, I guess, Tzeduki could be translated as. I think it sounds like it's okay to translate Tzeduki as a heretic as well. So you're right, David, that it's very inclusive. The word, it's very broad. Okay, so in any event. The Gemara continues and it says, Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis learned. We're 2 lines up from the bottom of the page. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis learned. Shimon HaPekuli, history Yudches Brochos of Rabban Gamliel. Shimon HaPekuli, he organized these 18 brachas before Rabban Gamliel, al Haseder b'Yavne, in the order in Yavne. And Amar lahem Rabban Gamliel. So what happened was that it seems like they forgot the order, even though they were established by the Anshe Knesset Hagdola, but the man of the Great Assembly established them. But it seems like the order was forgotten. And Shimon HaPekuli, which Pekuli means he sold cotton, and he was a cotton merchant, and therefore he established them. He explained to Rabbi Gamliel what the correct order was. Rabbi Gamliel. The Chachamim, Rabbi Gamliel told the Chachamim, "Klum yesh adam sheyedeh lasakin brachas hatzedukim." Is there any person who could establish the blessing of the tzedukim? Amad Shmuel HaKatan v'tikna. Shmuel HaKatan got up and he established it. In other words, he wrote it. Now, what was the big deal? What's the big deal to write the blessing? It's such a hard thing to there's so many editors, I'm sure, of the rabbis. I'm sure many of them had a good, could write things very easily. Why couldn't they just all write it? Seems like is there anyone that could do it? And then Shmuel HaKatan, he got up and he did it. And so I saw an interesting explanation that I heard this years ago, that Shmuel HaKatan, Shmuel is the one who said, when your enemy fails, when your enemy falls, don't be happy. And so they needed someone who would be establishing this, who would not be, they wanted to establish it without the feeling of we're right and they're wrong, and that's why we're establishing it. And so Shmuel, who had emphasized this teaching that you're not angry, you're not happy when your friend falls, he's the type of person that can write this without a feeling of bias. They needed someone who was going to write it without a biased feeling. And he's the right person, because his writing of it, his establishing the words of this prayer will be an unbiased writing, because he is the one who promoted this idea of not being happy when your friend falls. And so therefore, Shmuel HaKatan was the one who wrote the Berachas HaTzedukim. The thing is, Lashana Achera Shakcha, another year he forgot it. Different year at some point later he forgot it. And he tried to remember it for 2 or 3 hours. And so again, he was the Chazan, and he was repeating the Shemona Esrei, and he forgot the bracha, and they didn't take him off. Amai loy halu. Why didn't they get rid of him? They should have got rid of him and said, let's get another person to take over being the Chazan, being the cantor. Rabbi Yehuda Marav says that if a person makes a mistake, you don't get rid of him. You wait till he corrects it. But if a person makes a mistake with the Tzedukim blessing, we get rid of him. We have to be worried. Maybe he changed his opinion, and that's why he's making a mistake here, because maybe in his mind he really follows this view. Interesting. Here, David, it says the word min. We're afraid maybe he became a min. So Shani Shmuel HaKatan is different. The Gemara says the Iyu Tikna, that he's the one who established it in the first place. We're not afraid that he's going to change his views. Why? Shouldn't we be worried that maybe he might change? We have a rule that a person who's good doesn't change for the bad. No. It says that a person could return. Tzaddik might change from his righteousness and he'll do evil. That's when he started out evil. Then he might become evil later. But if he started out a tzaddik, he's not going to. Tzaddik made karoi loy. So the Gemara asks, "V'loy? It's not so. A tzaddik from the beginning never becomes evil. If he starts out as a tzaddik, then he never could fail. Only someone who once was evil, then he became a tzaddik. He could turn back. But a person who starts out as a tzaddik, he doesn't never will become vatnan. Al tamin ba'atzmacha ad yom moischa. Don't believe in yourself until the day of your death. You never know. You might turn. You might change. So the Shara Yechanan Kohen Gadol. We know Yechanan Kohen Gadol. Shemesh B'Kuna Gedayla Shmeinim Shana. He was a Kohen Gadol for 80 years. Philip Seif Nasa Tzeduki. In the end, he turned into Tzeduki. So someone who's righteous might turn into a Tzeduki. So we're basically questioning, how did Shmuel, they not kick him off from being the Chazan? Amar Abaye hu Yanai hu Yechanan. Abaye says that Yochanan Kohen Gadol was really Yanai, King Yanai, who was wicked, and he became righteous, and then he made him turn back wicked. So that's one answer, that a person who was righteous in the beginning never will turn evil. A person who was once evil in the beginning of their life, they might turn back evil. Rava says no. Yanai l'chud v'Yochanan l'chud. Yanai Rasha Meikara, Yechanan Tzaddik Meikara. So the question is, if Yanai and Yechanan are two separate people, Rava says, so how did Yechanan turn bad after 80 years of being Kohen Gadol? He changed and he became a wicked person. He became a Tzeduki. And so the Gemara says, Hanichol Abaye, this fits the answer. We have an answer according to Abaye that Yechanan Kohen Gadol changed because he was once wicked, and therefore he might have turned wicked later. Elul Rava Kasha, Rava's Kasha, Amalach Rava Tzaddik Meikarai Nami Dilma Haderbe. A tzaddik from the beginning he might change. So why did they get rid of Shmuel when maybe he became a min? There's a difference if you start reciting the bracha of the minim or if you skip it. If you start saying it, we know that you mean to speak negative about the minim, about those the wicked people, the heretics. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, some say Rabbi Yehuda Levi. We didn't say that you got to get rid of someone who's the cantor only if he didn't start the bracha. But if he started the bracha, then we wait till he finishes until he corrects himself. And the reason why he made a mistake, it seems like, is because it could be in the beginning only the Chazan used to say this bracha. And maybe this Shmuel HaKatan wasn't the Chazan. So when they established it initially, he wasn't used to saying it. He wrote it, he composed it, but he wasn't used to saying, because it could be that was only the Chazan said it. Another pshat is maybe he used to not daven every day because he was Torah Yom Nosei, maybe he learned Torah all day and all night, and therefore he didn't say it. Okay, I want to wish you all a very good Shabbos, and sorry for taking up your time.
Not at all.
Rabbi.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom,
Thank
everyone.
you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank
Shabbat
you.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom לכולם.